I wanted to do another video apparently wearing New Jersey gear. So if you're a Devils fan, congratulations. That's 2 days in a row. And I wanted to talk about what I'm calling the Ray Shero rule. So last summer, Ray Shero had Devils fans legit excited about the 2019-2020 season. And I didn't see them making the playoffs. And then I did a GM rating, and I didn't have Ray Shero in the top 10. And there were a lot of people who said, "How dare you?" And yesterday, there's some of the same thing, which is, well, our GM in the offseason made these moves. So he has to be one of the best GMs because look at the moves he made in the offseason. There's a problem. And it's the New Jersey Devils. So there you go. 2017-2018, they had 97 points. They were a wild card team. That was when it was NJD versus everybody. Remember? At which point, if you're a Devils fan, you say, it's always NJD versus everybody. 2018-2019, they had 72 points. They dropped back 25 points. There was no way they were going to be as miserably bad in 2019-2020 as they'd been the year before. And there were a lot of reasons to think things were going to get better. They drafted Jack Hughes. And that was one of the examples that Devils fans last summer were using. They were saying, we've got forward depth now. We got Hischier down the middle. We got Hughes down the middle. Give them credit. And I had to say, well, Shero drafted Hughes, but most GMs would have drafted him in that position. And they got PK Subban. Now, we can look back at that and go, wow, they took on his $9 million, and look at Subban. He was just terrible. Right. It didn't work in New Jersey. His play fell way off. Now, when he came over from Nashville, he hadn't had a great season in Nashville, but it was nowhere near the season we just finished in September. And they haven't played since March, in part because PK Subban was not the number one defenseman he's supposed to be. This was a team that had relied way too much on Andy Green. And so adding PK Subban, it was seen that this was a guy who could play a lot of minutes, who could help bolster their power play and their special teams. We'll talk about that too. And that Subban needed a change of scenery. And it was great. They hadn't given up anybody to get him. They gave up, Santini and a couple others. It's just, there was nothing given up off the roster to add PK Subban, a huge name in the NHL, and a player who has won a Norris Trophy. They also acquired Nikita Gusev and then signed him. So they got his rights from Vegas, and they signed him. So they added Gusev, and how much did they lose off the roster to get Gusev? Nothing. Zero. So they had added another winger, and that was after they'd signed Wayne Simmons. And they gave Wayne Simmons $5 million because they had tons of cap space. You didn't have to worry about cap space. So you throw money at Simmons, you've got him, he's going to help add some toughness to your lineup. He might score 20 goals. You've added Gusev. Gusev's supposed to be a fantastic forward. He's been hyped ever since Vegas got him from Tampa, right? And of course, PK Subban you got for very little. So that's 3 additions on top of Jack Hughes. That's 4 players that were added to New Jersey going into the season. And Taylor Hall had only played 33 games during that miserable 2018-2019 season. So you can look at that and go, well, they missed Hall for 50 games. If he plays those other 50 games, they don't finish with 72 points. And that's something we can debate at another time, but that's the argument, right? Mackenzie Blackwood also emerged as the future starter. He came in and played well when Corey Schneider flopped. And Schneider had injury problems. He went over a year between wins. And then Kincaid wasn't playing well either. And in comes Blackwood, and the kid's fantastic. So a full year of Blackwood, Kincaid's gone, and Schneider is at the very best the backup, right? All of these are reasons to look at New Jersey and say this team's going to get better. And Ty Smith was on the maybe he makes it list. So Ty Smith, a lot of hype, and maybe he's going to make it onto that blue line. And if you've added PK Subban for nothing off your roster that you can't lose, and you add Ty Smith to that blue line, things look really good for New Jersey, right? And things look really good because Ray Shero's got a plan. The power play had dropped from 9th to 20th during this season without Taylor Hall for almost 50 games. So you can look at that and go, okay, so their power play is going to get better. Their points are going to get better with Hall back. So it's not Shero's fault that Hall gets hurt. Now Hall's going to be back. He's in a contract year. He's going to have a great year because he's in a contract year. Because that's how it works. People will say, well, so-and-so's in a contract year. They're going to have a great year. It doesn't always work that way. I've been meaning to do a video for a while on whether or not contract years are the rule or if they're the exception. And I feel like they're the exception, that we expect guys to do really well going into their contract year. And Sometimes they do great, and sometimes not so much. And Hall would be one of those examples where I don't think his contract year was anywhere near what he had hoped it would be. And then also, if you look at the blue line for New Jersey, where we're looking at maybe adding Ty Smith, they've added PK Subban. Hey, Vatanen missed 32 games with injury. So if he can stay healthy, New Jersey's going to be very competitive. The New Jersey Devils going into the 2019-2020 season, there were a lot of reasons to be optimistic. Whether you're looking at trades, whether you're looking at free agency, whether you're looking at the draft, or just the overall progression of guys like Hischier, Zacha's going to get better, right? So again, these are all reasons that if you're a New Jersey fan, you would have been mad at me for not having Ray Shero in the top 10 GMs. And yet, and I say this again, if we're looking at the 2020-2021 season, and you could just call it the 2021 season if you want, because it's not going to start until January at the earliest, right? Trying to grade a GM on moves they've made that we haven't seen how they work on the ice yet is dicey. It's really, really dicey. And Columbus, I could do the opposite with Columbus to what I'm doing with New Jersey here. Columbus had lost everybody. Columbus had two inexperienced goaltenders. At the very least, Korpisalo had never been a starter in the NHL. Elvis had never played a game in the NHL. And then you get even into the season, how many games was it before Elvis got a win? He could play. He was playing well, just couldn't get a win. So it was, don't play Elvis. He can't get wins. And then all of a sudden, Korpisalo gets hurt, and we all go, well, that's it. They're done then, because Elvis doesn't win games. And then he did. And then he did. Hockey's tough to predict. So when I'm coming up with lists of who I think is the best at something, I can't, especially when it's coaches and GMs, I can't say, well, this coming season will mean that Ray Shero is one of the best GMs in the league. I'm talking about a GM that's been fired since then. He was fired. The coach was fired. John Hines was out of there. And he's already been rehired somewhere else. This is how optimistic everybody was, and within a couple of months, all that optimism was gone. What were you left with? Well, Jack Hughes had I thought he played well this year, but he just could not get the puck to go in the net. So his stats are underwhelming, but I think he's going to come around. PK Subban, disastrous season. Absolutely disastrous season for New Jersey. Shero couldn't have seen that coming. Nikita Gusev, slow start, got better. He expects to be better this season than he was in his first season. Wayne Simmons, it was kind of a wash. He played well enough, I guess. Goes to Buffalo, but didn't really provide that spark that New Jersey had hoped. Hall, well, he was in Arizona not too long after the season had started. It was clear he wasn't going to sign in New Jersey. He didn't have any faith in New Jersey long term, and he ends up leaving town. Mackenzie Blackwood ends up being fantastic. Schneider, again, not a great season for Corey Schneider. I had really hoped for a bounce back from Schneider because I love Corey Schneider, but it didn't work out. And so Blackwood was definitely a bright light in what was otherwise a dark season. Ty Smith doesn't make the cut. He should make the cut this coming season. The power play, their scoring in general, there were issues. And the weird part is that after they traded Taylor Hall, their record got better. Their record got better after they traded Hall. And it kind of felt like maybe that uncertainty, maybe that was affecting the team, or maybe the coaching change helped, right? As you know, you fire the coach, you fire the GM, and everything just is all up. It's a mess. And of course, Vatanen, well, he's gone. Vatanen currently, at the time of recording this, is a free agent. Could be signed anywhere. Can't see him going back to New Jersey. And when we look at this coming season, I know I look at the division they're going to be in, and I say, I don't see New Jersey making the playoffs this coming season. Although I think Tom Fitzgerald has done a decent job. I think that when you're trying to grade things out again, if you're grading on moves that have been made before you've seen it actually on the ice, that's where things get kind of a little bit tricky. So at some point, I'm going to do a video. Maybe I'll do a video series on each year and which team was the most disappointing, which team was expected to do the most that ended up not getting there. So at some point, I may do a video on that and where that falls apart. Because again, with the amount of parity in the league, it's very easy for a team to come in with all these reasons to be excited, and for fans to say this GM's done a great job, that then a couple months later they're going to be like, that GM should be gone. So it's tough. And I can only grade on what I've already seen. And so there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.